Hi guys, I'm Kasha. Welcome to our coffee times to talk about books and horror, and today I'm here to talk to you about all the books that are coming out in the month of April.
It's coffee time!
Today I have a total of 36 books that are coming out in the month of April. These are all thrillers and horrors, and they go from middle grade to adult. And as always, we're gonna go from publication date. I take the publication date always from Goodreads, so it can be different depending on your country, of course. But today we're gonna take a look at all of these books and get excited for what's to come. There are a couple of books here that I am extremely excited about. A couple of them I also have already pre-ordered, so let's get to it. The Black Girl survives in this one, and this is a short horror story compilation, and as you can imagine, the main character in all of these stories are Black girls. These are 15 horror stories in which the main character is a strong Black girl, and I am so excited. The cover looks fantastic and I cannot wait to dive into the stories. This Skin Was Once Mine and Other Disturbances by Eric LaRocca, and I am really excited for this one as well. As you guys know, I love Eric LaRocca's stories. They are very gruesome, disturbing, bizarre, and I'm into it. So here we have new short horror stories by him. All the Fiends of Hell by Adam Neville, and this is his new book that looks fantastic. I think this one even has aliens in it, so I think that Adam Neville has gravitated a lot towards folklore horror in the last years and a bit more of bizarre cosmic horror, and I'm here for it. Basically, there was an annihilation of the human race and there were only a handful of survivors left. So we follow some of the survivors in what is left of civilization in England. So the survivors are trapped here now and they're looking for a way out of this hell on Earth. And apparently there's rumors there is an escape through the sea, so they might try to do that. So this is horror combined with aliens if you are into that. The Reappearance of Rachel Price by Holly Jackson. This is a mystery thriller, and obviously I'm really excited about this one because I have loved Five Survive and The Good Girl's Guide to Murder trilogy by the author, so I'm really excited to read her new book. I did get like a little snippet of the book at Yalk, and I'm really excited to get the full copy. I did pre-order this one from Waterstones because they had really pretty special editions, so I'm gonna have to wait for that to arrive. We follow 18-year-old Belle, and all her life she has been plagued by nightmares about what happened to her mom. Her mom disappeared years ago when she was only a kid, and she was also the only witness to the kidnapping or the disappearance of her mother, but she doesn't really remember what happened, so she has always been beating herself up about it. And years later they contact her, they want to make a documentary about the case, and they agree to the documentary only for her mother to reappear. She comes back. The Psychographist by Carson Winter, and this is adult horror. The Hoyers are an American family, a very typical American family that, have to stretch their money in order to have a good life, and they are financially struggling, always looking for a way of getting more money, and then somebody appears mysteriously in the neighborhood and offers them a deal. Mr. Cormorant is the guy that comes around making them an offer, and he wants them just to test a product. That's all they have to do in order to get cash and finally have their American dream. So this is a novel of horror that talks about consumerism and all of that, and I think this one might be really interesting. Your Blood, My Bones by Kelly Armstrong, and this is a fantasy horror. It is said to be a twisted romance, so there might be a lot of romance elements in this one in case it's something that is not for you. But this one is about, the darkest parts of ourselves, or the things that we don't really like about ourselves, that we spend all of our lives trying to hide. But then sometimes we meet someone that will love us because of those things that we hate. And I kind of like that premise. So basically our two main characters here in this book are kind of like pitched against each other, but they realize that they have to work together in order to survive. So Wyatt has inherited a farmhouse, and while going through the house, the childhood house, there is an interesting finding in it. There is a boy named Peter in the basement, chained there, left abandoned as dead. So Peter is semi-immortal, and apparently the family has been trying to do a lot of like rituals with him to try to end him. And a way that Peter can be free is if he kills Wyatt and ends the bloodline with her. But in the end, they kind of have to work together. I think that's what's going on in this book. And it sounds really interesting. Imagine inheriting something from your family. You go there and you find this boy in the basement. Like, what the hell? Cranberry Cove by Hailey Piper, and this is an adult horror novella. This is a supernatural crime novella, and I think it takes place at a hotel. What I have read by Hailey Piper so far was bizarre and a little bit cosmic horror-esque, so this one might be also in kind of like that area. If you enjoy other of her novellas, this one might be for you. Next we have Mina and the Cult by Amy McCall, which is the third book completing the trilogy so far that started with Mina and the Undead. And it is very funny because that is how Amy and I got to meet. I found her book and I bought it and I posted about it on social media, and she reached out to me and we started a friendship. So, you know, I have such good memories of Mina and the Undead. I also really loved Mina and the Slayers book 2, and now we're completing the trilogy so far because I don't know if it's gonna go forward or not, but for now it's gonna be a trilogy and I'm really excited. I love also the cover design for the 3 books. I'm waiting on getting this one delivered as well, and yeah, I'm really excited. A little bit sad because it's gonna be the last one, at least for now, but really excited for it. I'm not gonna tell you what the third book is about in order to avoid spoilers, but in the first book, Mina moves to New Orleans in order to be with her sister, and Mina has a love for all things horror, and she gets a job at a horror house. It is basically a horror movie mansion, and Mina and Libby really like horror, so they're both working there, and then somebody gets killed and they realize that something is killing people in New Orleans. We are in the 90s, so you get that nostalgic vibe from the book, and we also have here vampires. So if you love vampires, 90s vibes, this one is for you. Also Found Family is in this book, and I can really recommend it to you guys. Then we have The Garden by Claire Beams, and this is adult horror historical fiction. We are in 1948 and we follow Irene that has had 5 miscarriages trying to give a son or a daughter to her husband, and she has been through a lot. So because they're desperate, they decide to put Irene at the hands of some doctors that they say they can cure her condition. So she's put in a facility and she is going through a lot of things physically and mentally. And in this facility, she finds a kind of like a secret garden. In this garden, there's something magical that might be able to give her what she desires most. A Better World by Sarah Langan, and this is adult mystery thriller. We follow a family and they receive a really good offer, like a job offer for the husband that they cannot decline. It's just too good. They need the money, so they decide to relocate for the husband's job, which just means that our main character, Linda, has to sacrifice her career in order to relocate with her family. But they've also been having problems in the family, so she thinks this is the best opportunity for them to have a fresh start together with their twins. But when they get there, she realizes that this town has certain beliefs and customs that are a little bit weird. So she starts snooping around, she starts asking way too many questions, and she's gonna be threatened because they want her to stop digging. Bless Your Heart by Lindy Ryan, and this is adult horror mystery, and this one is also based in the 90s, and it sounds like a lot of fun. We're in 1999 in Southeast Texas. We have women that for generations have taken care of a morgue. That is the family business. You know, they take care of the dead, they bury them. Everything has been going on great so far. That is until the body of one of the residents of the town, Mina's body, is brought to the morgue and she raises up from the dead, and they believe that she belongs to the Strigoi, which was like an old line of vampires. And yeah, vampire book. I'm always in for it. I love that they call the main character also Mina, the one that raises up from the dead. It does come from Dracula, so I think this one is going to be a lot of fun. Mirror by Polly Hall is adult horror. It is a psychological horror book about a woman that is trying to find her biological parents, and she's going to find a lot more. The book follows two different women, so one of them hears a voice inside of her head that is always telling her that she's not good enough, and she's really struggling in life, but she decides that she wants to find her birth parents, and thus she starts a journey to find them. The other woman is Cayenne, that is trapped in a loveless marriage, and she's been struggling to give her husband a child, and I believe both women probably get in touch with this goblin that is in the synopsis of the book, and I'm really intrigued about this one because it sounds like it's really bizarre. You can expect dark secrets and strange connections in this book. The Gathering by C.J. Tudor, an adult horror thriller. This is another one that I have pre-ordered at Waterstone, so I'm hoping also is shipped promptly to me because I would really love to read it. I'm really excited about this one. I believe this one is about a small town where a dead body is found that is basically bloodless and with bite marks, so we're kind of already thinking, okay, vampires. We're also in Alaska, so quite isolated, really bad weather, and I'm really excited because I have really enjoyed all of her books so far. Of course, I have my favorites, but this one is really promising to become one of my new favorites because obviously vampires. Ghost Station by S.A. Barnes, and this is adult sci-fi horror. It is a story about a crew that has to survive in an abandoned planet. We follow a psychologist that is trying to investigate a condition that happens to people that are in space, and she's trying to find a cure, try to find how to stop it, because this condition has already killed a lot of people. Her crew goes to an abandoned planet and they start their investigation when somebody ends up dead. So now she's questioning if it is this sickness that it is now spreading amongst the crew or if it's something else. The Familiar by Leigh Bardugo, and this is adult fantasy historical fiction. And you know, Leigh Bardugo and I have not always been the best friends. I did enjoy the Grisha trilogy, but it's not like my favorite, and I did not like at all the Ninth House. But I'm intrigued about this one because this is set during the Spanish Golden Age. As you know, guys, I come from Spain, so I am intrigued. It is about magic and magical powers, so I don't know if it's going to be too much for me, but I might give it a go. We follow Lucia, who is a servant in Spain, and she has a magical power that she uses mostly, you know, when she's alone. Nobody can see her, nobody knows. But one day, basically, her mistress finds out that she has this magical power, and they decide to, you know, put it to use, but probably not for good things. Also probably for political reasons, since this is a historical fiction book, but I am intrigued. Against the Darkness by Kendra Blake. This is YA fantasy, and it is the third and final book that started with In Every Generation. Not much I have to tell you about this. It is basically a trilogy around Buffy the Buffyverse with some of the original characters from the TV show as well as new introduced characters. I thought the balance between the new characters and the OGs was really good. I think that Kendra Blake has done a really good job at, you know, respecting the originals and also introducing new characters that the reader can fall in love with. The Darkness Rises by Stacey Stokes, and this is paranormal YA. It is a speculative thriller about a girl that can see death before it happens. Since Whitney was 7, she realized that she had a very special talent. She can see when someone is going to die. And so she tries to prevent as many deaths as possible and, you know, put her power to use, but for good things. And that person that she saves goes on later to become a school shooter and kill a lot of people. So she starts to feel really, really guilty about it. And on top of that, to make it even worse, somebody finds out witness power and that she saved the shooter. Her Last Summer by Emily Freud, and this is adult mystery thriller. 20 years ago, Mary vanished while she was backpacking through Thailand, and her boyfriend Luke was accused of it, but nobody, no crime. But now they are doing a documentary about the case, and a lot of dark secrets are about to be uncovered. The Count by David Jack Fletcher, and this is adult horror. Sam's ex Danny has been found dead, gutted, mutilated, and the problem is that Sam also doesn't remember what happened to him that night, where he was, what he did. He has like a complete blank mental space there. He doesn't know what he did. So he's scared that he might have been the one that actually killed his ex-boyfriend. The House at the End of Lacillian Street, and this is by Catherine McCarthy, and it is adult horror. We follow Claudia. She takes her vehicle and she's driving to a destination. She doesn't know why or how she made this decision. She's not taking any luggage. She's not taking her coat. She doesn't know why she has to go there, but she has to go. In fact, she has no memory of her past whatsoever. She just knows she has to take this trip. Withered by A.G.A. Wilmot, and this is adult queer horror. This is a queer paranormal psychological horror novel. After recovering from the death of their father, we follow 18-year-old Elise, who almost died when they went through a really bad eating disorder, and now they have decided to move together with their mom into a small town. But Elise feels that the place is haunted. There's things in the walls that are scratching, things in the walls that are moving. And now we go to another short horror story compilation, this time for adult readers. We have Weird Black Girls Stories by Elwyn Cotman. This is a collection of stories about anxieties and about the fears that you have living while black. And you get here in this book 7 different stories. Immortal Pleasures by V. Castro, and this is adult horror with vampires. We basically follow a really ancient vampire that it is now seeking revenge. So 100 years ago, this vampire was found to be a traitor and her people were murdered. And now, years later, 100 years later, she's looking now for revenge. And give me vampire stories like this anytime, especially revenge vampire stories. Yes, please. On top of that, and unexpectedly, when she is traveling, also looking for a lost artifact that she wants to find, she comes across a human that is not put off by her condition, and I think she's gonna fall a little bit in love with him. It is a horror novelist, this man, so it sounds like fantastic, It's giving me Anne Rice vibes, and I'm here for it. Sanctuary by Valentina Cano Repeto, and this is adult horror gothic. Sylvia just wants to live a quiet life together with her beloved husband, and they are currently living in a watermill. They moved there thinking that they could restore it because it's in very really rough, poor condition. While they're repairing this watermill, Sylvia starts to hear voices and she starts to see things. The ghosts of previous owners are infiltrating her thoughts. Lord of the Feast by Tim Wagner, and this is adult horror. 20 years ago, there was this cult that they had chosen their god, which was a creature that was very dangerous. So in the end, they decided to kill the creature and stop this cult. Smart decision. So the cultists decided to trap this creature into different nightstones and spread them out, so each of them will take a little piece and make sure that, they don't come together again. But one of the cultist children gets really interested about this, and it's trying to put the pieces of the puzzle together, which probably is not gonna look very good, especially for those that trapped the god in the first place. The god is probably gonna be really pissed. The One That Got Away with Murder by Trish Lundy, and this is a YA mystery thriller. We follow handsome, privileged white boys that have been getting away with murder. Both of their ex-girlfriends died in mysterious circumstances. Now there is a new girl in school and she starts to feel really attracted to Robbie, one of these boys. And what she starts to discover is something that might actually implicate him in a crime. But of course, if Lauren finds evidence that can implicate Robbie, it probably means that they're gonna go against her now. It is a YA thriller about catching a murderer. Indian Burial Ground by Nick Medina, and this is an adult horror mystery. All Noemi wanted was a brand new life, to be happy with a boyfriend, and everything comes tumbling down when her new boyfriend commits suicide. But she realizes that all the facts around the so-called suicide, the facts don't match, they don't add up, something is wrong, something's fishy, and she's determined to get to the bottom of things. One of Us Knows by Alyssa Cole, and this is adult thriller. We follow Kenetria, and she has dissociative identity disorder, so she basically has a lot of other voices inside of her head, and this is going to be a really interesting psychological thriller just based on that. She's going to be the new caretaker of a historic place, and when she gets there, she's gonna struggle mentally because she starts hearing things, possible ghosts. But is it just ghosts, or are there just the voices inside of her head? This is gonna be also perfect for people that love isolated settings because she's gonna be alone there taking care of this historical place, and for people, like I said, that love psychological horror, psychological thrillers. All Things Seen and Unseen by R.J. McDaniel, and this is an adult queer horror book. It says it is a queer, racial, modern, gothic horror. So, a lot of good things right there. Alex is a chronically ill university student in her 20s, and after an attempted suicide, she finds herself without a job. This is because she had to be hospitalized after the attempted suicide, and now she has been kicked off of campus. But now a friend offers her a job house sitting. We know how these house sitting jobs go. Not well. So Alex will find herself in a remote insular community with a lot of dark secrets. The Day of the Door by Laurel Hightower, and this is adult horror. There were 4 siblings and one of them tragically died. The oldest one, something took him and killed him behind doors. Since he died behind closed door, and after an investigation, they ruled it as an accident. 2 decades later, the family, together with paranormal investigators, are determined to find out what actually happened to the eldest brother. Kill Her Twice by Stacey Lee, and this is YA mystery historical fiction. We're in Los Angeles in the 1930s, and we have a star that is known by everybody, so when her body appears dead, everybody knows it's her. Lulu Wang's body appears very far away from her Beverly Hills mansion. The sisters suspect that Lulu's death was not an accident, but the police is not willing to cooperate. Why? Worried that the police is not going to try to solve her sister's murder, and they're just going to say it's another murder, typical night that happens in Chinatown. I guess, you know, there was a lot more crime back in the day in the 30s in New York. So basically the sisters are like, okay, we cannot rely on the police, we have to investigate this ourselves. First Light by Liz Carin, and this is adult horror with vampires, and it is the sequel to Night's Edge, which is a book that I've been meaning to try because duh, vampires. In the first book, we follow Mia that doesn't have the best mom. Her mom, Izzy, has a very special hunger, and Mia is just trying to have a normal life now that she's in her 20s and leave her past behind. She finds a musician and she decides, you know what, I'm gonna leave home, I'm gonna leave my mom behind, I'm gonna move forward with my life, and I'm gonna abandon my mom. That's what the first book is all about. I didn't read the synopsis for book 2 because I don't want to get spoiled, because I really want to read this one. Dark Parts of the Universe by Samuel Miller, and this is YA mystery thriller. This follows a bunch of teenagers that discover a dead body while they are playing an app-based game, and I'm like, yes please. We follow Willie, that is known in town as Miracle Boy, because he died basically for around 5 minutes when he was a kid, but obviously didn't really ended up dying because we follow him now and he's using this app that is kind of like a game. So he gets really concerned playing this game and he tells his friends and they all start to play the game together, and the game gives you coordinates to certain places, and that's how they end up discovering a dead body. The Redemption of Morgan Bright by Chris Panettiere, and this is adult horror. Haley died on the road leading up to an asylum, and her sister has not been able to figure out what actually happened that day, so she decides she wants to know what happened to Haley. So she develops this fake identity and turns herself into this asylum. I mean, why would you turn yourself into an asylum willingly, knowing you might never make it out of there alive? Of course, while she's inside of the asylum and she starts her investigation, she's going to find out a lot of dark secrets from this place. Home is Where the Bodies Are by Geneva Rose, and this is adult horror thriller. This follows some siblings that are reunited after the death of the parents, and they are going to check the parents' estate and what was left behind for them. So they all reunite in their childhood home and they find a box with old videos and they decide to check them out to kind of, get back those memories of happier childhood times. But then they come across a VHS and it is a tape from 1999. They don't recognize the footage and then they see their father covered in blood. There's also a dead body and then the video abruptly ends. So now the siblings are gonna be like, what the hell were our parents into? And last but not least, we have Midwestern Gothic by Scott Thomas, and these are short horror stories and they all take place in the Midwest. I did read Violet by the author as well as Kill Creek and really enjoyed them, so I'm really curious to see how he writes short stories. These are stories that take place in the American heartland and it's all about Midwestern Gothic, so I'm really intrigued. I'm really intrigued about this one because I think he has not published also a book in a couple of years, so I'm really curious to see what stories he has to share now. We made it, guys. We made it to the very end. These were my 36 book releases that I wanted to talk to you about, all books that are being published in the month of April. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I hope there was something here for everybody. Let me know down below if I missed any release, any horror thriller release that might sound really good. Let's post it in the comments so we all get extra bonus recommendations. Thank you guys as always so much for all your support, and I hope to see you all as always in our next coffee time. Bye!